Hey everybody, welcome back once again to the America's Army OP Cast. I am Dev Tots, joined by
Dev Rawrster,
and we are here to talk about America's Army video game stuff.
and Opt-in 3.
And Opt-in 3.
Yeah, which we're a little bit tardy on.
Yeah, well, about a week behind, but that's because we were, making the opt-in, so I feel like we can let it slide
That's
this
justified,
time.
yeah. So yeah, do we want to start there? Or?
Yeah, well, let's, I think we've already covered how well the opt-ins have been going. We're feeling really good about everything. We've switched over to the new forums. That seems to be going pretty well. A lot of these changes are starting to turn out good. So, yeah, let's go ahead and just plug through. I don't really think there's anything else to talk about yet.
Okay, well, so I guess kind of first things first, it's going to be this Thursday.
Yep.
Which is probably in a day or two, depending on when this goes out.
Yeah, this is recorded on Tuesday, so we'll see.
And yeah, so let's. I've already posted on the forums a little bit of a sneak peek of the list of the maps.
Right.
So yeah, we're gonna have Overload's gonna be back in. No real changes there. I know we got some feedback on it, but given it was a competition map and we've cleaned it up, we made some modifications, but try to keep it the same. We're not going to be making a whole lot of changes to that map, right? It kind of is what it is. I know some people think it's big, but it's how it was made, right? It's how it was.
Well, once people get some more playtime on it, you'll find the map really shrinks the more you know it.
The one thing we did change on there, the jet will be quieter. So
yeah, that's a shame.
So for those of you with sensitive eardrums,
or eardrums at all, really, that was pretty loud.
It was. Let's see. Then we're gonna have downtown's gonna be back in. So it was in last one.
Right.
Tried some changes to bakery window. Feedback wasn't great on that change.
No, it wasn't.
We're gonna revert it back most of the way. So like all the Windows stuff is been reverted back. What we're gonna keep is the blue tarps behind there and some lighting changes we made with that window. So your old, it'll function the way it used to, but you'll probably be lit up, or at least a little bit more visible than you used to be.
Well, and you won't be able to stand on that rail back there anymore either.
Yeah,
right? That'll be blocked.
We also added, so there's some talk, and I've seen it before on the old forums. The talks popped back up on this forums, like, what if we added a bit more play space? What if we gave another little side flanking route? So we're going to take a look at that. It's an interesting idea. So we added in some shadow step play space. Making that change is interesting. It seems like on paper it's going to work out pretty well. We've tested it a little bit. Jury's still out. So the thing we want to keep an eye on there is, it seems like, particularly late game, that change is going to favor attack. Attack already wins on that map 53% of the time, right? So this could be a situation where the change actually feels good, but we see that number increase even more. And if that's the case, that's not what we're going to want. So we're just going to have to monitor it and see what people think.
Well, and that's actually one of our, I think you said that's one of the heavier maps in terms of how much attack wins, the 53%.
Yeah, and actually most of our maps balance out pretty well. There's, the most attack heavy is like 55%. And then, we have some that, the ones that are the most defense heavy, they only get up to like 55%. But most of them are within 2% one way or the other. So most of them stay pretty balanced. So we want to be careful not to push one too far in a direction. I'm going to have Watchdog AC. So Old Three Kings.
Right.
Just kind of a different name. The one change is when we played Watchdog C4, the Flow Watchdog C4 on Opt-in 1, it'll be using that attack spawn point. So attack will have their spawn point shifted up just a tad, so that could help them out a little bit. That is a defensive-sided map. So we'll see how that goes. The other two are Outpost and Data Center.
Yep.
Which are white boxes.
Now, explain a white box. Some people may not know the term.
So it is very, very early in development. It is, the play space is there, but in a very rough state. Usually thrown together with existing assets or created with BSP, and it doesn't have, like, it's functional, but it's certainly not polished. It's not going to look particularly pretty. They've got like one reverb volume around the whole thing. I did all the lighting instead of our lighting guy spending time to make sure it all looks the way he wants it. I've spent the time to go through to make sure you can see.
Right.
So things like that. You'll expect it for collision issues and stuff like that. It also reflects kind of the state it's in as far as testing and stuff like that.
Yes.
So for those of you that remember when we put Intercept out, it was in a white box state when we first put it out, and we got feedback for it. Outpost is probably around the same state as far as playtesting that Intercept was when it out. We've tested it a handful of times, made changes and stuff like that.
Pretty big changes, really.
Yeah. We finally got it to a point where we're pretty happy with the play space. Data Center, on the other hand, we've play tested twice.
Yeah.
And even then,
twice internally and once with 4 beta testers.
and we'll get back into this in a minute, but it's a bigger map. It doesn't really play well at smaller plays, and we can't really fill out a 12v12 here internally. So we've played it, and we've played it with 8v8. I think is the most we've done.
Now to clarify, we have the people, we just don't have the people free.
Right? Yeah. I mean, so yeah, we need to get both of these into the public environment to get A, your feedback on them in this early state so we can make changes, and B, we just need to get some 12v12 going on some of these.
And like Rawrster was saying, these are, largely untested, which means there's probably going to be places you can get to that you shouldn't. And cheap sight lines and crappy things you can do. Just don't be that guy. Play the map fairly. If you see something, report it, but we're not looking for bugs. This is the design phase. We need you looking at how it plays and play fairly.
Yeah, absolutely. So these 2 white boxes, we mentioned, we gave this map list out already. Some people were speculating because we didn't give much info on these,
right?
Kind of on purpose. But we did have some questions pop up in that thread that I figured I'd cover real quick. So BC Pool was asking, are we allowed to completely and totally overanalyze and read too much into the fact that there's only flow maps included in this opt-in? And absolutely, I think that would be actually encouraged to overreact to that. And then he also wanted to know, are these maps intended to be 12v12 only, kind of like Overload, a bigger map which doesn't really work as well with 6v6? Or is it more like an inner hospital where, 5v5, 6v6 actually works, and with 12 people it's just more guns, more shooting stuff, more craziness?
They both feel pretty big.
Well, okay, so Data Center is about the size of Intercept, but it's all interiors. There's more dead space, everything. So it actually feels a bit more spread out than that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's big. I don't think it would play great with 6v6. You could play it with 6v6. It's not going to play great. It really does need that 12v12, I think, to really make use of all the routes and get some of the interesting dynamics that we're hoping to see there.
Right.
Outpost, on the other hand, so its size, it's bigger than Harbor Assault, maybe a shy bit smaller than Three Kings.
Okay.
But again, it's a little more split up in spaces too.
Is Outpost bigger than Data Center?
No.
Okay.
No.
Didn't think so.
Outpost is close quarter combat.
Right.
Almost exclusively. You could probably play that map 4-on-4 and just be fine.
Well, it's also, close quarter multi-level combat.
Yeah, so it's got the room to support 12v12, but of the two, I would see it being able to support smaller. Right now, we just have flow versions of both, though. And actually, let's go into so each of these, beyond just being our white box, I'm trying some new things with both of these, too, that we just want to see how they play out. So I figured to go through that. We'll go through the objectives and stuff. So Outpost is a pretty straightforward C4. You've got 2 plant sites. Mm-hmm. You got the C4 you start with. One thing we're doing in that map is we're limiting... There's no automatic rifleman role on either team. You can't choose it. If you want to use the automatic rifleman weapon, you can. It's in the map. You have to go to the armory to pick it up.
Yes.
And both teams reach the armory in the same time. So yeah, fight over that. Then you get the big gun if you want it. We also have... I think you referred to it on the forums as semi-doors.
That was Mr. Caterpillar.
So, yeah, we have tarps hanging in some of the doorways. Mm-hmm. So you run through them. When you do interact with them, kind of push them out of the way as you go through. They're split down the middle. So, they pretty much just block sight but they're not going to block bullets or anything like that. They are still a work in progress. We're just trying to get a feel for them. There's going to be some things about them you don't like, guaranteed. They don't stop grenades at all. They don't interact with those or slow them down, so the grenades just go right through. Also, at the end of the day, we're hoping that bullets will start ripping tears into these things so that you can open up a sight line to look through before just running through blindly. But
these are just in there to say, see, would this idea work at all in our game?
And we've already tweaked them a little bit, and we've got them to a better spot than they were. I think we like them here, but we'll see what other people think. Also, this map, there's a lot of underground, there's a lot of caves and stuff.
Yeah.
A good portion of the map is made with 2 rock assets. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
I just scale them up and throw them together. There's going to be collision issues. It's going to be a little gnarly in places. But, just something we've got to deal with this stage. There's not a lot of point in making new assets for a play space that's not even defined, and we don't even know if the map's going to make the cut at the end of the day, right? So we just take what we got and throw it together. Data center. Okay, so data center is a little bit of a twist on the objective. It is an extract. Attack has to go, get the objective, and bring it back to their spawn point. But there are 2 objective sites. So essentially there's 2 flags in the map, and you need to bring one of them back. When you pick up one of the flags, that's the one you're taking. The other one gets shut off as soon as you pick up this one. So it's like you're going into one of the 2 main server rooms and getting the data and then bringing it back out. So you kind of have to decide which flag you're going for, and then you're kind of committed once you pick that up. The other team will definitely know when you pick it up because we have alarms in the facility that sound, so just trying to give a little bit of feedback there, and it kind of fits the theme. Let's see, we're also looking at real doors in that one.
Yeah. Sliding doors, though.
Yes, yeah, we keep them... We wanted to keep them simple. Also wanted something that would fit the theme okay. So, yeah, you kind of have doors you go up and interact with, and they'll slide open for you. Interact with them again, they'll slide closed. No windows or anything like that. We just solid door, blocks sight, open.
Expect bugs.
Yeah, expect bugs. Well, we found a couple already and fixed them, and they're not going to look great, but they're there and they function. Again, same caveats about sight lines and collision. There shouldn't be as many collision issues with this one. Sightline issues would probably pop up a little bit more, but
play fairly. I mean, just because you can't abuse it doesn't mean you need to.
So yeah, looking forward to seeing how people take those on and what the feedback is. A couple of other things we saw on the forums we'll go ahead and cover. Somebody was saying hopefully the art style will be a little more inter-hospital style than Intercept. Basically not a lot of overgrowth and stuff like that. Definitely that is something we've been looking at for both of these maps. Definitely on the data center. We want it to be clean and pretty pristine.
I feel the rock look of Outpost kind of gives a similar feeling. It's outside, but it's pretty defined.
Yeah, so we want it to feel outdoorsy and natural and stuff like that, but we have an eye on keeping that easy identifiable, being able to pick out enemies easily and things like that. So it's on our radar for both of those. Data centers in a better state probably right now than the other one is, but yes, we're moving that direction. Some other people were saying, hey, these map names sound kind of familiar. They're talking about, hey, did y'all look at this UMM or whatever. The naming's pretty coincidental, and these map names could change at some point. It's just
the working names almost never end up being the map names.
Yeah, right? So Harbor Assault was called Midnight at one point or something. So,
Kosh for a cold front,
and who even knows what Slums was called? Something else crazy. So yeah, maps. That's what to expect moving forward here.
Yeah.
What else we got to talk about? Got a little bit of sound stuff.
Yeah, there's been some sound fixes. Not a ton. Soundy has been away with marriage type happenings.
Yeah, so he should be back very soon though. Yeah. But yeah, so I guess some things to cover. I know a lot of you mentioned, hey, Hospital sound is way jacked up.
Oh yeah,
it was way jacked up. So Hospital is one of the few maps we have that relies on BSP in a lot of spots, and that was causing the problems. We were able to address that. Mm-hmm. Also, another thing I mentioned it earlier. Both of these white boxes that are going to be out have a single reverb volume around the entire play space. So don't necessarily. That's not really a great place to get sound feedback. Like if things are sounding off there, well, go check the other maps instead because those aren't going to be representative yet. So UI, there should be some minor changes in there. You'll see some iconography and stuff on the server browsers and stuff like that you didn't see before.
Server filters are working. I'm not sure if they were last time, but they do now.
A lot of work's going into UI, but a lot of it is going into areas that we're still not quite comfortable in putting out there. And so, like My Soldier and stuff like that, you'll still notice that's locked. We're putting a ton of work into that right now. We're just not quite ready to go there yet.
Dev Knox has not seen his family in 4 weeks. I think we've had him chained back there. So, eventually he'll starve to death or he'll finish, but we are going to get this done and get this put into the game.
And then we have a little thing called Classic Mode.
Oh, yeah.
Which will be... So some servers will be running Classic Mode. Like we just said, the server browser is going to have icons for it. What's the icon going to be for Classic?
I think it's a skull.
Big skull.
Big skull. All right, so if you see a server with a big skull icon next to it, you'll know it's running Classic. Classic means really two things. I know before we've had what was it, hardcore mode and stuff like that, and it had a bunch of different settings, right? Classic mode, you're getting two things out of it. No revives, period. And friendly fire is about 4 times more punishing than what it is in normal servers. That's it. Those are the changes. But we know there's a group out there that's going to want to play with no revives, so we'll toss it out there. We'll get a feel for that. See if there are other things that we would like. This mode should have these other things, right?
Yeah, and we talked to the community in the past, and we've looked at this before about what should a classic or harder or whatever you want to call it mode have. And you'll typically get about 50 responses with 50 wildly different settings. So, you take the common things of no revives, cool. Friendly fire damage, got it. And go from there.
Yeah, and so, kind of see it as the foundation, and then if we need to add on to it, we certainly can. I think a big thing, though, is we don't want it to feel like a completely different game, right?
Yes.
Like, it just supports a slightly different play style. So I think those are the big things to keep an eye out for on this upcoming opt-in. Mainly, again, map feedback. We've actually been getting good map feedback on all the opt-ins. Looking forward to that. And then, classic mode. So, I mean, these opt-ins are happening in 2-week intervals, right?
Yes.
So some are definitely going to have more changes than others. So this one's a little bit lighter on stuff, on content, but,
this is
we'll
just, minor minor iterative changes. This is a lot like what our closed beta guys have been using for a long time.
Yeah. The positive of that is those things that are different, we get to focus on, right?
Yep.
So we get to take a closer look at some things. So we'll be keeping an eye on that, and like the last few opt-ins, we'll certainly be in the servers in full force. So we look forward to seeing you guys on Thursday.
Yeah, stick with us. We'll have this thing out soon.